Okay, let's talk about that blank page or, the instrument that's just sitting there gathering dust. That project you keep saying you'll start tomorrow. Does that sound
Oh,
familiar?
definitely. That feeling, that ache to create something, to get it out, but, well, something just stops you. Or you start, and then poof, the energy's gone.
It's so frustrating, that gap between wanting to do it and actually doing it. And you know you have something worthwhile inside, but it feels locked up.
Exactly. Like there's this invisible wall.
Well, you're in the right place if that resonates. Today, we're diving deep. We want to understand those roadblocks, figure out how to, dismantle them.
And our main guide for this is Steven Pressfield's book, The War of Art. It's pretty powerful stuff.
It really is. Even someone like Robert McKee, the screenwriting guru, he joked about holding Olympic records for procrastination, but he said this book gave him a real battle plan.
Yeah, and the core of that plan is identifying the enemy. Pressfield has a name for it. He calls it resistance.
Resistance. Simple name, but a huge concept. So our mission today, for you listening, is to unpack this. We want you to walk away understanding what resistance is, how it shows up, and crucially, how to start fighting back.
It's about building that discipline, adopting what Pressfield calls a professional mindset towards your creative work.
Okay, let's get right into it then. This resistance.
Mhm.
What exactly is it? Pressfield's definition is pretty intense.
Yeah, he doesn't pull any punches. He calls resistance, and I quote, the most toxic force on the planet.
Oh, okay.
It sounds extreme, maybe. But his argument is that this force, this resistance, is the root cause of so much of our unhappiness, our unfulfilled potential. It actively stops us from tapping into our unique genius, as he puts it.
Our inner spirit, that thing driving us to create our specific thing.
Exactly. It's not necessarily about being Mozart, but about finding and expressing that thing that's uniquely you.
He uses this image I found really striking, like genius has a shadow, and that shadow, that's resistance. It's just as strong, just as real as the pull towards creation.
Yeah, it's a powerful visual. And he tells this incredible story about a woman diagnosed with cancer.
Right, I remember that. Facing her mortality, she finally started pursuing her dream, writing music.
And the amazing part, her condition went into remission.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Like, do we actually need a crisis, something that dramatic, to finally push past resistance and just do the work?
It's a sobering question. Do we wait until the stakes are impossibly high?
And then he hits you with this other example, which is honestly kind of chilling. Hitler.
Ah, yeah, the failed artist.
Apparently, he had real artistic ambitions early on, moved to Vienna, tried to make it, but clearly that didn't pan out.
And Pressfield's take is that resistance beat him so badly. I mean, the quote is staggering.
Yep.
It was easier for Hitler to start World War II than it was for him to face a blank square of canvas.
Just let that sink in, the power of this internal force. It's terrifying, really.
It really puts it into perspective. And, the tricky part is often we don't even realize it's happening. Resistance is sneaky.
That's what makes it so insidious, right? Pressfield says he spent years getting, kicked by it without even knowing what it was.
It just operates below the radar in the background noise of our lives.
Okay, so it's this stealthy enemy. How does it actually, show up? What does resistance look like in everyday life? What are its tactics?
Oh, it's got a whole arsenal. McKee points out the big one right away in the foreword: procrastination.
The classic. Suddenly, cleaning the grout in the bathroom seems urgently important.
Exactly. Anything, literally anything, except the thing you need to be doing.
Yeah.
And it's not just laziness, right? It's often rooted deep down in fear.
Fear, yeah. Pressfield talks a lot about that. The more important the work feels to us, the more fear we tend to feel.
It's like a compass, almost.
Yeah.
He mentions actors often picking roles that scare them the most, that fear signals significance.
Interesting. Okay, so procrastination, fear. What else?
Well, all the distractions, right?
Yeah.
Sex, drugs, shopping, doom scrolling, gossip, binge watching, anything that gives you that quick hit of gratification.
Instant reward instead of the slow burn of creative work.
Precisely. It pulls you away from the deeper stuff, but leaves you feeling kind of hollow afterwards.
And he says it can even manifest as, actual trouble. Getting sick, having accidents, sudden bouts of drama or neurosis.
Yeah, it's almost like the mind creates chaos to avoid the quiet focus needed for the work. He calls it a cheap way to get attention without actually producing anything.
Wow. And self-medication, too. Using stuff to numb out.
He sees that as another way resistance tries to silence that inner calling, that voice telling you to create. Blot it out instead of facing it. He even links it to consumer culture, always looking for the quick fix.
And victimhood. That one's
Uh,
subtle but powerful.
Totally. Playing the victim, he argues, is like this passive-aggressive move. It avoids the hard work, avoids taking responsibility.
It's amazing how many disguises it has. He even talks about how we choose partners based on their resistance.
Yeah, like maybe you pick someone who's really blocked so you can live in that shared space of avoidance. Or maybe you pick someone who seems to be conquering their resistance, hoping it'll rub off.
Wild. Okay, and the big one, rationalization. The excuses.
Oh, resistance is a master storyteller. Now's not the right time. I need more training first. My job is too demanding. The kids need me.
All sounds perfectly logical on the surface.
Exactly. But resistance conveniently ignores all the people throughout history. The Tolstoys, the Armstrongs, who created amazing things despite huge obstacles.
Right. They didn't wait for the perfect moment.
And the real trap, Pressfield warns, is when we start believing our own excuses, when the rationalizations become our reality.
Oof. Been there. And what about worrying what other people think? Fear of judgment.
Huge, that need for external validation.
Mm-hmm.
Or, deflecting when someone asks how the project's going,
Mm-hmm.
protecting that fragile creative self.
Yeah, totally. And perfectionism. That counts too.
Oh, absolutely. He sees perfectionism and procrastination as basically two sides of the same fear coin, constantly tweaking, never finishing. It's resistance keeping you from shipping the work.
Just keeping busy too, right? Filling time with unimportant tasks.
The ultimate smokescreen.
Yeah.
Anything to avoid the core work. And underneath it all, often, is just pure self-doubt, terror of putting your true self out there.
He even challenges the idea that you need to be fully healed before you can create.
Right. Sometimes, he suggests, the endless quest for healing becomes the resistance, another way to put off the work indefinitely.
Wow. Okay, one more. Leaning too much on support from others.
Yeah, support is great, obviously, but ultimately, Pressfield says, the core support has to come from within. You're the one driving the bus, even if others are cheering you on. He has this dream analogy about taking the wheel.
Okay, so resistance is formidable. It's everywhere. It's sneaky. So the million-dollar question, how do we actually beat it?
This is the core of the book, really. It's where Pressfield introduces the big shift, turning pro.
Turning pro, not just meaning making money from it, right? It's more of a
Yeah.
mindset.
Exactly. It's a fundamental shift. Like, he compares it to having a child. There's a definite before and after. It's an ideal, a way of operating that stands in complete contrast to what he calls the amateur mindset.
Okay, let's break that down. Amateur versus professional.
Hmm.
What are the key differences in how they approach creative work?
Well, first off, the amateur plays for fun, for enjoyment,
Yeah.
which is fine. But the professional plays for keeps. It's serious business, even if it's joyful.
Amateur's part-time, fits it in. Professional is full-time, mentally at least.
Right. Even if you have a day job, the commitment is total. The amateur is a weekend warrior, shows up when inspired. The professional shows up every single day.
Every day, even when you don't feel like it, especially then, maybe.
That's the absolute key.
Yeah.
Showing up is non-negotiable. The amateur waits for inspiration to magically appear.
While the professional knows inspiration often comes during the work, not before it, they act despite the fear.
Precisely. Another interesting one. The amateur often is their work, identifies completely with it. The professional learns to create some distance.
Like the Madonna example you mentioned earlier, using the persona.
Exactly. It allows for objectivity, which leads to the next point. Amateurs take failure personally. It crushes them.
But the professional sees rejection or criticism as, well, just part of the game, maybe even resistance rearing its head externally.
Yeah, or just feedback, not a judgment on their soul. Pressfield links this to the Bhagavad Gita focus on the work, not the outcome.
Okay, that makes sense. Amateurs need an audience, need that applause. Professionals are more self-validating.
Their focus isn't horizontal looking at peers, comparing. It's vertical looking up at the craft, at mastery.
Amateurs quit when it gets hard. Professionals endure.
Mm-hmm. He tells that story about seeing a license plate. DBSPD. Paid. You got to pay your dues through sheer persistence.
Love that. Okay, amateurs seek praise. Professionals seek order. What does that mean?
Creating structure, discipline, eliminating chaos. So the muse or inspiration or whatever you call it has space to show up.
Amateurs can have a poverty mentality. Not enough time, resources. Professionals cultivate abundance, trusting they can generate what's needed.
Right. And amateurs get really attached to results, to success or failure. Professionals play more for the love of the game, the process itself.
He warns that loving it too much, being too invested in the outcome, can make you choke. Detachment helps.
Yeah, it lowers the pressure. It all loops back to that dance between love, fear, and resistance.
Amateurs can have a short fuse, get easily discouraged. Professionals are patient. They know stuff takes time.
I did a Delrod, he says, not a sprint. You got to settle in for the long haul.
And lastly, amateurs get stuck in one way of being. Professionals reinvent themselves. They evolve.
Like that Goldie Hawn quote about needing to adapt as an artist. You can't just keep doing the same thing forever.
These distinctions are so sharp. And, Pressfield makes this great point. We're already pros in our day jobs, most of us.
Yeah. We show up, do the work, meet deadlines, deal with difficult people.
So why not apply that same professionalism, that same commitment to the things we say we really care about, our creative callings?
It's about consciously transferring that skill set. He talks about his own turning pro moment in Hollywood. Got his script made, big star, Linda Hamilton.
Yeah, huge deal. But then
A friend told him bluntly the movie was terrible. Ouch. But then another friend asked him, "Are you going to quit?" He said no.
And the advice was?
Then stop complaining and be grateful. You're exactly where you wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. That was the moment he realized what being a pro meant.
Taking the hits, dealing with the criticism, but staying in the game. Focusing purely on the work, like those Spartans he mentions. Tuning out the noise.
And here's the encouraging part. Resistance, for all its power, is basically a bully. It feeds on fear.
But when you face it down, when you show up consistently with that professional commitment,
it backs off. It really does. He uses that line from The Searchers about being like a critter that might just keep coming on. That's the pro. Relentless.
Okay, now he does go into this higher realm section, which gets a bit more mystical, spiritual.
Yeah, talking about muses, inspiration, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Referencing the Greeks, Socrates talking about heaven-sent madness.
Even quoting Homer's Odyssey, invoking the muse, that ancient idea of asking for divine help in creation.
It taps into that feeling that sometimes creativity comes through us, not just from us.
And I love this part, the magic of making a start. Just beginning. He quotes Goethe, right? Whatever you can do, or dream you can, begin it now.
Yes. That commitment seems to unlock something. Providence moves. Things start happening once you actually commit.
And then there's the magic of keeping going, pushing through even when it's hard.
That's often when the breakthroughs happen, right? When your conscious mind gets tired or bored and deeper insights bubble up.
He shares a really personal dream, too, about an eagle, interpreting it as validation that our inner worlds, our dreams and visions, are real and powerful forces.
Like there's this unseen intelligence we can connect with, which ties into his idea of the self versus the ego.
Right. The self as the source of creativity, the authentic part. The ego as, well, the part that breeds resistance tied to the material world.
And the creative struggle is essentially that battle between the two. The more we connect with our true self, the less power the ego has. The ego hates the artist waking up.
And pursuing that self, that calling, might mean losing some old connections, but gaining truer ones and tapping into something deeper.
So, okay,
Yeah.
we've laid it all out. Resistance, the enemy. Turning pro, the strategy. Now, it really comes back to you listening.
Yeah. It's about recognizing resistance when it shows up in your life, those sneaky excuses, that familiar fear.
And then making a choice. Choose the professional path. Commit.
Yeah.
Not to finishing the masterpiece tomorrow, but just to showing up today.
Show up for the work, whatever it is. The writing, the painting, the music, the business ideas. Sit down and face it.
Even for 15 minutes, consistency is your greatest weapon. That simple act, repeated, builds incredible momentum. It starves resistance.
Expect the fear. Welcome it, almost. It means you're heading towards something that matters. Detach a little from the outcome. Fall in love with the process again.
Because that creative power, it's already inside you. It's not something you need to find. It's something you need to unleash.
So take that step, whatever the next smallest step is for you. Do it now. Begin.